Ojalá me hubiera dado cuenta antes. No siempre lo urgente es lo importante. Tal vez son las brujas, tal vez el destino. Yo siempre me pierdo en el mismo camino.
But it's really pretty amazing that, Fidel Castro, who was, painted to be this terrible person in Cuba, this terrible place for so many years, becomes another one of those fonts of straight-up information. I'm not going to, I'm not going to say pro or con about Hugo Chavez, but if you listen to some of the words that come out of the guy's mouth, and you understand, as I recall, that at one point the U.S. government really tried to initiate a coup to overthrow the guy, you understand that sometimes what these people outside the country say may have a little bit more reality to it than what the propagandists here in the United States would have us believe. Pretty amazing how that happens.
Well, the dreadful situation that existed in Cuba in the 60s was that the government, Batista, and the mafia had all control of the island. And it's interesting how Castro evolved. He was militant, outspoken. He was a school teacher. And he said, no, I'm not going to put up with that crap. And they did a couple of things, and he had to run off to San Esplay Mountains. And so the mob was getting screwed by Batista. Now, I got this story straight from a mob member. So this is not a fairy tale. This is first-hand information. And he told me exactly what happened and how they ran the guns down to Castro to overthrow the government, because Castro promised them that if they were going to have gambling, and they would give them a fair shake. All they wanted to do was business as usual. And so anyway, after Castro took over, he didn't deal with the mafia anymore. He started his communist society in opposition to what they had. And of course, the government all left the country, and many other wealthy people did, and over time many other people did, because they didn't like the system, and I can understand why. I wouldn't want to live under a communist system. And I think you're seeing two things here: an evolutionary process of Cuba coming back into the mainstream. Spent a lot of time there. I know the country pretty well, and it's interesting to go in the museum and see the U-2s and other spy devices that they've shot down that the U.S. put over the island there. And yes, it's like walking back into the late 50s, early 60s. Yes, they do have taxis that are 1956 Chevy Bel Airs and so on. But the people are very nice, and it's a well-ordered society, but people want freedom to do what they want to do. And I think in his waning days, Castro's coming out with the truth, and he wants to leave and let everybody know, I really wasn't a bad guy. I was trying to do something good for the people, and I don't know whether I made a good choice or not. And I think that what's going to happen to Cuba is that it's going to re-evolve, and many people who particularly live in Florida will return to start businesses there. It's beautiful island, beautiful beaches. It's frequented by Europeans, Canadians, as a vacation place. It's inexpensive, so to speak. And I think once it's opened up to Americans, I think it's dreadful that Americans are forbidden to go there. Now, that's wrong. And, trying to murder Castro all those years, making him the GOAT, and trying to force him into doing things that he didn't want to do. And, of course, the only people that would help him were the Russians, and at that time they were the bad guys. And so You know, time changes things. And I think in years to come, you'll see a different Cuba.
Well, you know, it's pretty interesting. Cuba by no means was the only country to suffer some of the effects of American imperialism and underground tactics, so to speak, to try and get our way
in the open.
Yeah.
And then they left those guys on the beach to get slaughtered who went in to try to retake the country. I mean, I knew many of those people. And it's dreadful what happened. In fact, the CIA wanted to go back in there in 1966 and try it again. And I know that for sure because they contacted me.